Granite girlies and basalt boys. Inspect your siding for signs of sun damage. Finger your favorite calipers. And I just want to drape you in Tyvek so that you will be beautiful and also protected from moisture.
You shall remain pristine forever, because it's time to talk tall to me.
I also have plastic on the couch. And no, you cannot sit on it.
Do not worry about the tarp on the floor.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am Owen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are the Feckless Momes.
And this, my sweet question marks, with exclamation points, therefore interrobangs, is Talk Tall to Me.
A plaster party in the construction yard of Prog Rock, in which non-slip Nick and open cell Omen will painstakingly reshingle each and every travertine track that reclaimed rock band Jethro Tull have ever mined, molded, milled, and masticated. We will soothe the structural insulated panels of Scott Hammond, jiggle John O'Hara's joint compound, and propose a fetching glass brick wall to David Goodyear like it's 1937. And if we can keep our core slabs hollow, reinforce our concrete pillars, and convince ourselves that the linoleum isn't that ugly, we may be granted the approval signature of the marble madman, the yellow pine yodeler, the stucco who don't give a f***o, Ian, even my acoustical panelings have acoustic panelings, Anderson.
The glass wall 1937, is that just like hyperbole that it's a really outdated style?
No, those glass brick walls.
Yeah.
They were in vogue in the 1930s.
In the 30s?
In early 40s. Yeah, I thought they were later as well.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a resurgence in the 60s or 70s, but apparently their big popularity dates back to the 30s.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Wow. No, look, you can see through it.
I'm look through that.
Look through that glass wall from the 1930s.
Nick.
Omen.
A day.
A day today it is.
And what day might that be?
It is the end of Tab 2 Day.
How is that possible? We just started it.
Oh my God, I know.
Time flies when you're listening to massive prog rock concept albums.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And you drop an acid while you do it, and then it's just, whoa.
Don't drop the prog rock album on your toes unless you're wearing steel-toed boots and are also on acid.
Yes, those two requirements, and then you can drop the album.
Nick.
Omen.
Speaking of not doing any drugs, what is the title of the track about which we are talking today?
The final track is under the heading of What Ifs, Maybes, and Might Have Beens.
Ooh, and the title of it is
What Ifs, Maybes, and Might Have Beens. Or no, and, I guess. It's What Ifs, Maybes, Might Have Beens.
Oh.
You look scared. I made you rethink your entire life.
I was scared because I realized that I had also been adding an and.
You would think there would be an and there.
The and is silent.
It's a silent and. It is an Oxford comma, though.
Which basically is an and.
It needs to be there, especially if you're not putting the and. Because then it would have been maybes, might have beens.
And I prefer no ands to what ifs and maybes and might have beens.
Well, yeah, nobody needs a first and. We just need the end and.
Unless you're Dorothy Gale. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Bears and otters and twinks, oh my.
Friends of Dorothy they can get away with things that we can't. That Ian Anderson can't.
Correct. Nick, let's have a listen to What Ifs, Maybes, Might Have Beens, the final track on the album Thick as a Brick 2.
What if we do?
We all must wonder now and then if things have turned out well just plain different.
Nick McGill!
Oh, Thomas Sade.
That was...
Mercy.
Cher, when did you get here? That was What Ifs, Maybes, Might Have Beens.
That it was. It was... What is it in a musical, like at the very end, where it's just a recap of all of the themes that we heard?
The Mega Mix.
That's not what it's like actually called, though, right?
Sometimes it's called a Mega Mix. Yeah, that's an industry term. If you look at Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat,
Mm.
it might actually be called Megamix in the musical, in the score.
Really?
Yeah, because it's literally every theme from the show slammed into a 10-minute production number.
It's not a reprise, though, because a reprise is like a revisiting of just a
A
single.
single theme, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. It's our Tab 2 Megamix then.
It's our Tab 2 Megamix,
Yeah.
which is also the name of my vitamin that I take in the morning.
Puts a little ginger in your step.
Take 2 Megamixes and call me in the morning.
You'll start with 1. If you need to go up to 2, you do. But
That's right. What do we have musically to start us off here, Nick?
goodness gracious, some very lovely piano and Glock
Yes.
to begin with.
Yes. Very, very pretty.
And then Ian comes in very soon with some sweet, soft singing.
With that piano, we almost have that kind of Morse code-y rhythm right at the very top, but it swiftly moves into the pretty bram-da-ba.
Yeah, it does start bum, 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 bum.
And it has that a little accelerando that just kind of takes you gently into that brum-dum-bum, that nice theme that we've heard before.
Yeah, but it's that much sweeter being
Yes,
played
yes,
in this super soft approach.
yes. So we have that piano. Ian's voice is super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
This is text that we've heard before on this album, but we have not heard it sung. Which is interesting because it sort of doesn't really have much of a rhyme structure as you would typically expect in a sung piece. It really feels like a piece of poetry, a piece of not quite prose, but it feels like it's unrhymed verse in a way. Different, splintered, I suppose it's sort of a rhyme.
This is the text from the third track, Might Have Beens.
Yes.
That is now being sung.
Plus some.
Yes, right.
That's interesting.
It is. It's very lovely. It's very sweet. The drums come in, still keeping it kind of on the soft side.
Yes, with a little electric guitar.
Just a couple of little baby stings.
Might I have been the man of courage, brave upon life's battlefield?
And we don't really pick up until 39, but even then it's not that big. We're going up incrementally here.
A Puritan of moral fiber.
Very incrementally. And what a build. I mean, across this song to get us to that last moment, it really does take that step up, step up, step up. It's a 12-step program.
It is, just to finish this album. Yeah. And we do get a revisitation of my favorite sting. Ba, 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 da, 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 da. Just once.
Yeah.
Just once
Yeah.
to touch on it.
Pose.
And then acoustic and piano at 1.
What ifs, maybes, and might have beens? Why not perhaps and wait and see?
We break that advance of getting slightly bigger, and then we go soft and quiet again.
Right. Then at 117, we go back to one of the main themes provided by the flute. Okay, so that's when we have that theme, which is not a Thick as a Brick 1 theme.
No.
This is a new theme that we have throughout this album.
That's when it starts to get really heavy and really pick up. Not playing around anymore, for reals.
No,
For reals.
gloves off.
Gloves off.
Gloves off, other gloves on. Evening gloves on. Evening attire strongly suggested.
So gloves up to the elbow.
That theme that we have, that dum, bum, ba-ka-dum, ba-da-dum, we have had that in Banker Betts.
Mhm.
We've had it in Wooten Bassettown. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have it at one or two other places in the album, but those are the places that I definitely identified it.
That is kind of a running theme that kind of makes everything cohesive in this album. Even if it's not every song, it's dotted enough that it's chained together.
It's one of those threads that takes
One
us
of,
through.
yeah.
And I think it's kind of the now it's intense.
Yes, right.
It's the kind of heights of emotion.
Yeah, we've been saying the last couple episodes about those sonic moments that they're basically an archetype, you know? I see Pantalone, I know he's this character. I hear Ba, ba, ba-na-na-na-na-na.
You know, I'm supposed to
Shit's
be
going down.
feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be having an emotion.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right to call it an archetype. It is almost to the level of who wrote the Magic Flute? No, not the Magic Flute. Who wrote the Orange? What sort of a flute? Somebody wrote something about a flute.
The Magic Flute is an opera.
The Magic Flute is an opera, and I think that is one where the themes are very closely identified. It's like, this is this person, this is this person.
Oh, are you thinking Peter and the Wolf?
I'm thinking Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah.
That's the one where each character has its own instrument.
Prokofiev.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. You know, they did a version where David Bowie narrated.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, put that on at night. Fall asleep to
Wow.
that, baby.
Yeah, totally normal dreams then.
Eat a wheel of cheese and then listen to David Bowie.
Yeah, a full jalapeno. At 133, that theme develops even further. I think it switches from the flute to the electric guitar.
And then the Hammond comes in very soon after that.
Big swells.
Imagine little summers never ending, winter nights beside my roaring, touched by madness and filled with fondness, kissed by love, love without pain.
The lease is up. He's got to use up the rest of his time with the Hammond, and he's taking advantage of it.
He's playing it like he stole it.
Yeah. As they're pulling it out of the studio, he's like desperately reaching for those keys.
Like, it needs to go back to its home now.
No! Just one more.
Always remember me.
And then another quick beat here at like just at 2, we get a stop.
Oh,
We
yes.
drop for the briefest of moments, and Ian's, whatever Ian had just said, echoes in that silence, and then it picks up again, like instantly.
Love without pain. What ifs, maybes, and might have been.
Oh, so good.
So what did he end on?
Love without name. Name.
That name, Echo. What if maybes? And he adds the and there.
There, that's where the end
That's
is coming
where the
from.
end is. And might have beens.
I might have beans.
Is the plural of might have been not mights have been?
No, because it's hyphenated. If it's hyphenated, it's all one piece. If there weren't hyphens between them, then I would accept your argument.
I was not expecting a serious response. So I don't know what to say. At about 2:30, we get I would call it a semi-false ending.
I have it as where the feedback starts. Hang on.
Oh yes, there's a big overdrive moment. But the album could end there.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So the feedback fades down to that false ending. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting choice that effectively that is the megamix.
Yeah.
We did it. What ifs, maybes, and might have beens, why nots, perhaps, and wait and sees.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thesis of the album.
And I just want to say at that wait and sees, there's such vitriol in his delivery. It's like, it's really vicious the way he says that final wait and sees.
What ifs, maybes, and might have beens. Why not perhaps, and wait and sees.
It doesn't necessarily feel like a happy ending per se. It's more
It's a threat.
It's more of a threat. It's more, why did this happen? We're kind of going beyond the quote unquote happy endings that we saw in Kismet.
Yes.
And our narrator is a little pissed that they had to go through this.
Or he's just feeling the passion of the fates. You know, no matter where you end up, if you are alive, things could change radically.
That's my favorite Star Wars song.
If you're alive?
Passion of the Fates.
Oh,
It's Duel of the
that's Duel
Fates.
of the Fates.
Yeah.
That's Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Great music.
Great music. John Williams.
Good oldies.
And then,
as if there could be any other way to end this album, anything that is titled as an Ian Anderson solo album, and really anything at all, Ian gives us a moment of just him and the acoustic guitar, and he sings us a big throwback to Thick as a Brick 1.
The acoustic guitar is that as well. It's that
Yes.
same wind down that we hear in Thick as a Brick 1.
Yes, yeah, and you're right. There is a decelerando there. He is slowing down. Oh, so the band actually leads him into that.
Saw you ride yourselves over the fields, and you make all your animal deals.
It's so interesting to hear him singing that thing that we're so familiar with, that he's sung millions and millions of times, singing it now in this era where there's that slight difference, that slight roughness in his voice.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
It feels very appropriate to have this sung version of Ian having gone through all of this life to lead to this point. Also, this being the story of Gerald having gone through all of these lives to land at this point. It's poignant, and it's also very good delivery.
To be thick as a brick. 2.
To be thick as a brick, too.
Which I have to admit, I slightly cringe a little bit.
I could definitely do without the 2.
It's funny. It's cheeky, but it's also a little bit like, we know it's the title of the album. We know it's Thick as a Brick 2.
After such a long journey of this album, of really like being invested and feeling for this character and feeling for these grand roller coaster scopes of the various sounds and songs, the very last thing that we hear pulls me out of it every single time.
There's nothing wrong with it in itself, but I feel like in the context, it's sort of like, oh, you've just had the most refreshing gazpacho that you could have ever imagined. You've just had a lovely fillet of sea bass, and then you've had a salad of fresh greens that were grown on the rooftop of this beautiful restaurant, and then you've had a homemade ice cream and a hand-ground espresso to top it off. And then somebody throws a Werther's Original at you, and you're like,
Kind of don't need this.
normally I don't mind a Werther's Original, but right now,
Yeah.
just want to...
It's like having a really nice sushi dinner and then ending it with deep fried ice cream.
We might be hungry.
I am pretty hungry, yeah.
I could eat.
I could eat some deep fried ice cream.
No judgment, but I hate it.
Yes. Concur.
I would never judge anyone for their art.
But this is terrible.
But wrong choices were made. No, I think it feels a little indulgent. And who are we to judge? Who are we to say that Ian Anderson shouldn't indulge?
Yeah. I mean, if anyone has the right to, it's Ian Anderson.
Actually, Ian is the only person who has the right to indulge.
That's valid, actually, yeah. The church has said so.
And in that moment, he's indulging for all of us.
Okay. I guess I can forgive it if that's the case.
What I would prefer is if on the CD of this album, there was a single track at the end that just contained that 2, so you could mute it if you preferred.
You'd have to be there at the CD player, though, ready to stop it.
Oh, I would.
Well, I mean, it's the same case of me listening to Curious Ruminant. I always stop it after Drink from the Same Well. I refuse to listen to Interim Sleep.
You know what you can do is just put a piece of wax on your record. It'll just naturally stop the needle. Nothing bad will happen.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if you're going too fast, hit that pylon. You'll be fine in the car.
It's what they're there for.
That's why.
Overall, despite our little silly quibble about the last word here, this is such an incredible wrap up to the album. It doesn't contain every single theme, so it's probably not properly a mega mix, but
yeah,
it does sum up as much as that is possible, the album.
Yeah, and I think it's enough. I don't think it's lacking in anything. And I think with the kind of the sonic journey that it takes us on, if it were try to cram more in, it might be a little too much.
Yeah. And it's a good reminder, I think that functionally what this sort of does is we've just had Kismet and Suburbia. We've had and now here's what they're doing. Here's, each of these different versions of Gerald has experienced some form of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And this puts the onus a little bit back on us to say, you, the listener, have all of these what ifs, maybes, might have beens. You have the infinite possibilities in your life of sin, despair, tragedy, happiness, redemption.
Right. It's not you've been experiencing this story from a remove. It puts us more. It's the clown facing out of Shakespeare saying, hey, listen up.
Yes.
This is all of us. This is not just
totally
King John over here.
And in a way that, too, at the end is kind of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a ew.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I can almost forgive it because it also sounds like the comparative, the TOO, Thick as a Brick 2 as well, also.
Oh, also Thick as a Brick.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wonderful musical. I mean, just to say, now that we are officially at the end of this album, oh my God.
What a goddamn good album. I'm so glad we did this. This
Same.
is on my rotation now.
My life would be drier, rougher, sandier, and hotter without this album. I am watered by this album.
You're transported from Florida by this album.
This album has stopped a hurricane that was heading for me. This album really, this is an enrichment to my life. Genuinely,
yeah.
Having listened to this.
Agreed.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Sting, stang, stung. I've got nothing for the middle. We can...
Sting, stang, stung. Enough with your Latin.
Omen.
Nick.
I think it only fitting that we discuss the lyrics to this song.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Okay, great.
But also, let's talk about, we almost wonder now and then if things had turned out, well, just plain different. What if we had never started this podcast?
I don't think we'd be nearly as communicative with one another as we are.
Agreed.
I think it has really opened up communications, and I apologize to Katie for that.
It's deepened our relationship as people.
I think so.
I definitely have a better appreciation of the canon, but also I wouldn't have the job that I have, the full-time job that I have.
That's true.
So thanks a lot. But really, I mean, there are so many ways where you really don't know. You really just don't know what the effects of your actions are going to be. You just have to be kind of. It's interesting. I don't know. It's a fascinating question that this album probes at.
Yeah. We wouldn't have met any of our tall skulls. I would never have gone to England.
Probably.
I would never eat a Fray Bentos pie. I'd never have had haggis.
Yeah. Yeah. We would never have stood on Dunringill and watched a storm roll in.
That's right.
Roll in.
We never would have stood on the stage that Jethro Tull would be playing on an hour from then, looking out at the audience.
As if we were Jethro Tull.
As if we were creepers.
As we were creepers.
We were creepers, actually, yes.
Again, I think it's a very natural thing. It is an evergreen philosophical question that Ian Anderson poses with this song. We almost wonder now and then if things had turned out, well, just plain different. Chance path taken, page unturned, or brief encounter blossomed, splintered.
We all must wonder now and then if things had turned out, well, just plain different. Chance path taken, page unturned, or brief encounter blossomed, splintered.
We've talked before about the contrast in images between blossoming and splintering. They're kind of similar in one way. You have from unification many parts.
Yeah.
But they're so different Splintered is a cataclysmic occurrence,
It's destructive.
whereas blossoming is part of the natural cycle of growth.
And a plant cannot reproduce without that blossoming.
Correct.
Believe me, I've tried.
But yeah, I've pollinated so many sticks. Oh, you were saying how ugly the flowers of the pawpaw are?
yeah.
Yeah. My olive tree is in bloom. And oh my God, they're such ugly little flowers. They're tiny. First of all, they're literally like the head of a pin.
Wow.
They're so small. And then it's just like a little white ball. And then it just goes, "Meow." And it's like a white ball now that's in 4 parts.
Why have I not gotten photos of this?
Because I don't have a microscope.
That's a good point.
I'll send you some pictures.
I'd love to see those.
So we have the chance path taken, the pages unturned, or the brief encounters. You know, of all the men that homeless Gerald encountered, what if he had taken a left instead of a right that morning when he was hoeing? And, you know, he may never have met the one guy who actually kind of formed a relationship with him,
Yeah.
for instance.
Yes.
Might I have been the man of courage, brave upon life's battlefield? Captain Commerce, high-flown banker, head mystic down at heel, a Puritan of moral fibre, voice raised in praise magnificent, or rested in assured repose, knowing my lot in quiet content.
Might I have been the man of courage, brave upon life's battlefield? Captain Commerce, high-flown banker, head in a stink down at heel. A Puritan of moral fibre, voice raised in praise magnificent, or rested in assured repose, knowing my lot in quiet content.
These are all questions we can ask ourselves. What if I was a Puritan of moral fibre? Could you imagine?
Ooh. Our relationship would be very different. I'd be confessing my sins to you on a regular
That's right.
basis.
Yeah, you'd have to take up the slack of sinning.
I'd have to pick it up. You're right.
You're right.
You're right. We got to have balance in the
The
world.
universe needs balance.
Mhm.
What ifs, maybes, and might have beens fly soft petals on a breeze. Ah,
What ifs, maybes, and might have beens fly soft petals on a breeze?
do you remember the film Forrest Gump?
It's a feather. You were talking about the feather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That first scene is just that feather floating and floating and floating and floating and getting, you know, a car passes by and it shoots over this way and
Mhm.
a slight breeze happens and it goes over here.
Yeah. I was also thinking the plastic bag from
American
American Beauty.
Beauty.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And then, of course, it lands on his knee or his notebook or something.
Yeah. I think it's the Notebook.
But it's a beautiful image for all the possibilities in life. You know, that we're constantly walking through this swirling storm of floating possibilities.
Right. And anything like the movement of a car could change that
Absolutely.
trajectory. Yeah.
I mean, especially cars.
Mm.
Well, as in with Broken Bride.
Goodness, yes.
Yes.
Subscribe. Patreon. Listen to
Subscribe.
that one.
And then you can broken cry.
Oh, God. It's so good. It's unbelievably good.
So now we actually get some new content, some new lyrics, some new words.
Yeah.
Suppose bold woman, quite unsuited, brave in adventure, sojourns wicked.
Suppose old woman, quite unsuited, brave in adventure, sojourns wicked.
What are we supposing about her?
I think that is take your mind away from Gerald and let's look at this person. I think it's really just shifting our focus to a new character.
What if you were bold? But why at this point? We haven't had any real new characters. Are we suddenly back with Baron Madge? And what was Baron Madge doing all this time?
Whatever happened to Baron Madge?
Madge. The next album by Ian Anderson. Velvet touch and lips soft centered, tossing hair, teeth bared in laughing.
Velvet touch and lips off-centered, tossing hair, teeth bared in laughing.
I mean, to me, this is sort of imagining the one that got away, right? What if I had asked Susie to the dance instead of Sally?
Instead of Madge.
Instead of Maggie.
Maggie.
I guess it sort of is that. It's like, well, what if I had chosen a different partner?
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been wicked. The match would have been unsuitable. But maybe we would imagine idle summers, never-ending winter nights beside a fire roaring, touched by madness, filled with fondness, kissed by love, love without name.
Imagine idle summers never-ending winter nights beside fire roaring, touched by madness and filled with fondness, kissed by love, love without name.
Wow.
Poetry.
Actual, literal poetry.
Literal poetry. And then we repeat the what ifs, and then we go into the final verse of tab 1.
So I'm still not totally convinced how this one stanza fits in here, the supposed old woman. But
I know it's interesting to be the final piece of new material.
Yeah, it is. It seems that gives it weight, which I don't quite understand how that weight balances the rest of everything.
Is it camera focused on Gerald this entire time, and then it turns around and pans to Ian? Maybe this is a brief, quiet, tiny little glimpse of, well, you've seen the questioning of Gerald Bostock. What about the questioning of your narrator?
Well, it certainly is playing on themes that we've seen throughout his work before.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of Summer Day Sands a little bit. You know, like, oh, remember that fling that you had in the summer of 1937?
With those glass walls?
With that woman with the glass legs? It's sort of like, what if that? It almost feels like picking some random thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose all of us have that in our lives, you know, that like, because the possibilities are so infinite, I imagine that a lot of people have that one, like, well, what if I had gone to... I didn't apply anywhere else for college.
Neither did I.
What if I had... Did you only apply to Hofstra?
I did.
Really?
Yep.
Ballsy.
Yeah, I was such a dummy. Such a dummy. Are you kidding me?
Same. But what if I had gone to Northwestern instead of Sarah Lawrence?
Yeah.
Would my life be different? Maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah. Invariably, it would be different, but how? How different? How much is that forked path? And where do you fall? If you do, where do you fall back onto the path that you are now?
Right. And that is, you know, we've talked about the structure of this piece with the divergent paths that balloon out quite far and then reconverge, then balloon out a little less far. If we had made other choices, what would be the same?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's just as important a question, I think, when considering the world and universe of possibilities.
Going back to Dante.
Finally, I think we should wrap this up with Dante.
The way that this ties in for me is he does end this new material with the concept of love.
Yeah.
Maybe that is to say that throughout all of the thousands and millions of swirling possibilities in any given life, there's actually only one choice.
Which is love.
Which is love.
Which is Beatrice.
Which is Beatrice, yes. And she's a stand-in for the ultimate love of God.
Right. Well, of course.
Obviously. And she's a stand-in for cool women.
Cool, strong, independent women.
Who are not going to let you get away with all of your sinning. They're going to tell you about it and reprimand you for it, even though you've already drunk from the waters of Lethe and can't remember any of them.
I've paid for it already. I've done my time. Quit nagging me, Beatrice.
My favorite
Get off my back.
Part is when she's laying into him for something that he did on Earth, and he's like, baby, I don't remember any of that. He's literally just drunk the waters of forgetfulness. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I would never do that. She's like, you're such an idiot. Okay, final question about the text of this song, Nick. How does So You Ride Yourself Over the Fields and Make All Your Animal Deals and Your Wise Men Don't Know How It Feels to Be Thick as a Brick fit in to the overall context of this album?
So you ride yourselves over the fields and you make all your animal deals, and your wise man don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick too.
Ooh.
Discuss.
Beyond, I'm just going to button this up like I buttoned the first one because that'll be cute.
Exactly, because why not end it with the Harry lost his spectacles, you know?
Well, I can think of many reasons. First of all, that's from Passion Play.
Oh, listen. Why not the poet and the painter, for instance?
Yeah.
Why end with this?
I mean, I think it is the main thesis of what being thick as a brick is. You know, and this is thick as a brick too.
Are you saying that the relevance is that Thick as a Brick 1 is to a certain extent about the impossibility of real wisdom because of our limited perception? And therefore, when you put it into this context, all of the what ifs, maybes, and might have beens, all the possibilities of our life, we are blind to. We are blind to the future possibilities. We're blind to the past possibilities. We're thick as bricks.
I think so. I think that works.
Kind of just blundering around.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only so much you can know because you can't account for everything.
Yeah.
And what you know in this iteration is obviously going to be different than what you know in that iteration. If you were in that iteration, you might be more prepared, but you're not. So
Right.
there's no way to have that set, confident, clear path. You can do things like ride yourselves over the field. You can make your animal deals. Wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick. But who's a wise man? You're not. I'm not.
Nobody on this podcast.
Nobody on this podcast or this earth.
Socrates stated
Was pretty
that,
wise, yeah.
well, yeah, he was pretty wide.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Plato. Socrates said that the only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing.
Yeah. Right. I think he was onto something.
I think he was on something.
Might have also been that.
I think make all your animal deals, to me, we talked about it when we talked about Thick as a Brick, kind of makes me think of just being moment to moment.
Yeah.
All you can think of is, am I going to eat this piece of grass or am I going to get eaten by that wolf?
Right. It's reaction, basically.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
And your wise man don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick too.
Final thoughts on Thick as a Brick 2?
I think we've said it. You know, like I'm super impressed. I'm so glad that we did it. It's darn good. I don't necessarily have to listen to Thick as a Brick 1 before I listen to this one. I think they're disparate enough that this can kind of stand on its own, sonically at least.
Oh, yeah.
But it works. It works in every way except for one. And that's 2.
See, there a man is born, and we pronounce him fit for peace.
That's near the end.
Side 2.
Yeah. He originally is fit to fight.
What can we learn from Oh Fluffy Duck? Oh Fluffy Duck.
That Ian may not be honest about his lack of drug use. or whoever did that may have been on something.
I think what the big difference to me between the two albums is that Thick as a Brick 1 is kind of like, you know, when a spider, what's that Walt Whitman poem where a spider upon a prominence is throwing out filament and filament and filament, trying to make a connection with something? Thick as a Brick 1 is just kind of like, here's something. Here's something. Here's the poet and the painter. Here's the dawn of creation of the kings. You know, searching for that connection.
Yeah, it's very broad scope. Yeah.
And because of that, each of those filaments is really, really goes far and is really unique. I think Thick as a Brick 2 is much, much, much more structured.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
It's building that web. It's building that beautiful pattern.
Because it's not, when you think about it, it's not a sequel per se to Thick as a Brick 1, because it's the life story of Gerald, the guy who wrote Thick
Who's
as
the
a Brick.
writer as Thick. Yeah,
Quote,
it's
unquote,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a sequel to the album art of Nick's Brick 1.
Yes, yeah. But can you take that general idea and thesis of what Gerald was proclaiming in 1 and apply it, ergo 2? Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Great album. Glad that it was made. Glad that we are talking about it. And Nick, what is it that we have the distinct pleasure of talking about next week?
Goodness gracious. Great balls of Ian. We are talking Ian's 2014 solo album, his last solo album, actually.
To date.
To date. As of Thursday, March 13th, 2025.
Right. And there are a lot of what ifs, maybes, and might be's out there.
Yeah. We are going to start Homo Eroticus, the first song, which is chapter 1 from part 1 Chronicles. It is the song Doggerland. Do you know what to go dogging means in British parlance?
I do not.
What
What is it?
It's meeting up in a bush to do things.
Really? Oh, it's like cruising.
I think specifically homosexual activities, like in a park. I think that's what it is. It's not just like
Behind the
hook up with-
toilets in Regents on the southwest side.
Yeah, that one too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Excited to dive into the Upper Paleolithic and to find out what makes this Homo so eroticus. Until next week, I am a petal floating on the breeze. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
I am touched by madness. I am Nick McGill.
Together we are blossomed, splintered, the feckless momes.
And these are our teeth bared. But it's because we're laughing. Because it's Talk Tall to Me.
Welcome, Dante. Now that you have passed through the fires of the Inferno, the tortures of Purgatorio, and you have arrived here at the earthly paradise, I gift you this grant. You may drink from the waters of Lethe and forget all your sins.
Oh, thank you, Beatrice. I'm so parched.
Yes, drink heavily from these waters. Drink them up, Dante. Let all of the memories of sin be banished from your brain. You are now pure of mind. You have no recollection of any of the bad things that you've done.
I feel so prepared to go to heaven.
I bet you do, you dirty little boy.
What?
Now it's time to talk about all of the terrible things that you did when you were on the earth.
What did I do? I'm a perfect. I'm a pure.
No, Dante. Do you not remember when you were at the church on a Sunday and you were praying so much, but then for one moment a fly come by, you stop praying, and you accidentally look at the bosoms of another woman?
I'm a little confused, Beatrice. Did you not just give me the waters that make me forget my sins?
Did I? Maybe you should have another drink.
Okay. Oh, purity. I feel like I'm a glowing.
Yes. But you are not.
Oh!
You are a full of sin. Do you remember when you were walking to the church after having given alms to the poor, and you stub your toe and you say, "Ai cazzo, mi piedi"?
That sounds like something I would do, but I don't remember doing it.
You did it. You did it.
Oh.
I have my telescope from heaven. I look at you and I think, oh, he's such a bad boy. He never
so bad.
getting to heaven.
Oh, what can I do, Beatrice?
You can drink from the waters of Lethe and forget all of the bad things.
How lovely. What a boon. I shall sup.
It tasted good, no?
Oh, it's so good.
Little
My
drop
soul
of
is so
lemon.
light.
Dante, I have to ask you a question.
Yes, please, anything for you, Beatrice.
Do you remember ever drinking from the stream of the waters of Lethe?
I feel like I have. Yes.
You don't remember?
What?
You don't remember drinking the waters of Lethe?
Okay.
It's a sin.
It's a sin?
You're sinning right now.
Oh, no.
You better drink again from the waters of Lethe.
Oh, I'll take my toes out of the stream. Let me
Okay.
take a sip.
Dante.
Yes,
Dante,
Beatrice. Oh, when did you get here,
Oh,
Beatrice?
hello. You remember me?
I do. How could I
Dante,
forget?
Dante, listen. Try to
Yes.
concentrate.
Okay, I'm focusing.
You think that you are ready to ascend to the heavenly heights to meet the Mary Virgin herself?
I feel like my soul is weightless. I could float up right now.
Psych!
What?
Big no to that! Your soul is so heavy, it's like a lead. It's like a pumpkin filled with lead filled with gnocchi. It's like a pumpkin gnocchi with ricotta. It's not a light, it's a heavy.
I get the imagery you're going for.
And do you know why?
Why, Beatrice? Why? Why am I evil? Why am I stained and tainted?
It's because you make the pasta of pridefulness. You boil it in the water of wrath. You assault it with the salty salt of fornication in your mind. You sprinkle the parmesan. You sprinkle the parmigiano of lewd thoughts and strange positions when you are doing the sex.
Beatrice,
Dante, my beautiful Dante.
I'm hungry. Should we go to Olive Garden?
We should go to the Olive Garden, yes.
Oh, let's go.
Let us commit to the scene of gluttony, and then we can have a little aperitivo, a little digestivo of the waters of Lethe.
That sounds like a great idea.
But wait.
Oh,
You have to
Beatrice, what is
confess
it?
all of your sins first. You remember the biggest sin of all.
I am afraid to ask you what it is.
Oh, it is so bad.
Tell me, Beatrice. I'm prepared.
You're going to have to drink so much water of Lethe to forget about this.
I do have to pee. I don't know why.
You don't remember. You just drank like 4 gallons of water. It's like a college hazing party in here.
Did I do a keg stand?
Hey, Michelangelo, get the funnel for Dante. Okay, your worst sin of all.
Tell me, I'm ready.
It was not having extra fat in your grains on Witten Week.
Oh, I feel like I have avoided that pretty well.
It was not wearing one color during the week of Easter.
Oh, yes, I would not do that as well.
It also is not even that silly accent that you were doing.
What are you talking about?
Because if that was a sin, I would also be in hell.
And you're too perfect.
And I ain't too perfect. I'm Beatrice. So your worst sin, Dante.
Tell me, beautiful one, what is it?
It was listening to a podcast.
No, I knew it would come back to bite me.
It was not prudent.
Oh,
It was something to be confessed, and most wickedly of all, it was a talkatal to me.
oh God, I do not belong in heaven.
No, because that podcast is not only a sin, it is a sin of pride, because it is a proud member of the Feckless Moms Audio Network.
Oh, boy.
Beatrice, yeah, coming.